It goes way beyond a normal scale. The startup Naked Labs has now made a 3D body scanner with a full-length mirror that people can buy for their homes, the first of its kind. It delivers information on your body, things like weight, height, BMI, measurements. The company just raised $14 million, led by the venture capital firm Founders Fund, and Cyan Banister, one of the firm's more recent partners and an early Uber and SpaceX investor, joins us now here in the studio. Great to have you.
Yeah,
I've been wanting to have you on the show. So, is this something that you imagine everyone would have in their homes, like a scale, or is this a more niche kind of use case?
Originally, the goal is to have it in every home. To begin with, it's going to be the person who buys a Peloton, who really cares a lot about personal fitness. And so the price point is higher to start off with.
Well, it's $1,300.
Right.
A scale is more like $20,
right.
But okay.
So if you think of like televisions when they first started out, they were $23,000 for the flat screen TVs. If you're a pioneer in the space and someone who's an early adopter, you're paying more, but eventually we can drive the price down with scale.
So how does the technology actually work?
Well, it has sensors that actually do depth reading, and so when you stand on the scale and you put your arms out, have you tried it?
I haven't tried it yet.
I highly recommend trying
one.
it. Yeah, highly recommend trying it. We'll try to hook you up with doing one. But you basically stand on a pedestal, the pedestal turns around, and then afterwards in about a minute, you get what looks like a Silver Surfer image of yourself. That's a flattened out image, and you're able to see a 3D model of yourself.
So, talk to me about the potential here, the kinds of information that this can give you and how it might change your life or how you live it.
Well, I think that we are scale obsessed, and we're obsessed with numbers that don't really ultimately matter for your health. So if you get on a scale and you're like, gosh, I'm 2 pounds heavier or 5 pounds heavier or 10 pounds heavier, but you're working out at the gym and you're making dietary changes, are those changes that actually really matter? And so when you actually get a 3D body scan, you can see what those life choices are actually, how they're impacting your body. Like sometimes when you work out, you're gaining weight. And so you might become discouraged if you just got on the scale every day.
What about the privacy issues here? I mean, we're so concerned, especially in light of the Facebook data scandals, what companies know about it, about us, how they are using that data, if they're being honest about it, if they even know where our data has gone.
Yeah, Naked Labs takes that very seriously, and that's one of the reasons why all of the scans are done on device. And then the only thing that
it's stored there.
It's stored there on device, does not go back to the company. The only thing that you get back to the company is that little Silver Surfer image of yourself.
So you joined Founders Fund now a couple of years ago, and you were an angel investor before that. You backed Uber, you backed SpaceX. What do you think are the big mega trends right now?
Oh gosh. Well, I know what I'm personally passionate about. I don't know that I follow the market and try to figure out what the biggest trends are, but I'm personally very passionate about the future of entertainment. And so I've been doing a lot of investing in that area. And so I've been turning over rocks, and basically I don't know if you've heard of like Hatsune Miku, which is a virtual pop star, and she's a hologram. Billions of people watch her. But also there's little Michaela on Instagram. She's a virtual influencer. So I did a seed investment there. And so there's things that I'm like looking at and trying to figure out, okay, what is the next Pokemon Go? How are we going to interface with our phones? How is augmented reality going to impact us? And so there's the things I'm really excited about.
You invested in Uber. Do you think scooters are the next big thing or not so big?
Personally, my personal opinion is no. But I do think they are necessary for certain people. Like people are really happy about them, and they're a cost-effective, affordable way to get around town.
Have to ask you about Elon, since you invested in SpaceX. It's Tesla earnings day. Founders Fund backed Tesla. Does it concern you at all that this is, he's running 2 companies. He's got a lot of side projects. He's tweeting all the time, including right now, minutes before the earnings call. Does that concern you as an investor from an execution perspective? Well,
we're pretty bullish on Elon, as you know. We're very proud of everything that he's accomplished. And yes, it is a lot to take on, but I think that he's shown that he can do it. But I don't speak to Elon on a day-to-day basis, so I actually don't even know the breadth of everything he's doing.
What about Bitcoin? Founders Fund has made big bets on cryptocurrency, which is, it's actually been an unusual turn for venture in general. Do you think that, are you still bullish, and do you expect to make more investments there given the volatility in the price? I mean, I know everyone's excited about blockchain, but let's talk about the value of
I
the
think
currency.
As a team, we are still bullish. Personally, I'm also still bullish. So I hodl. I don't know if you know the term, but I hold on for dear life. As a store of value, I think it's incredibly valuable. It's basically digital gold. it's not the best way to transact. And so I think there's going to be other types of currencies that are good for that in different infrastructures, but it's good for store value.
So a lot was talked about when Peter Thiel backed Donald Trump and how that impacted others at the fund. And I'm curious if it's changed your experience at Founders Fund at all, if it's had a negative impact or changed the way that you guys do business or interact within the firm.
I think it made us closer at the firm. Mostly because we like to celebrate diversity of thought, and not everybody there agrees with everyone. We have people, who voted for Bernie Sanders. We have people who voted for Trump. It's a very personal decision, and so it's one thing that we actually talk about a lot of things that have nothing to do with politics, like the future of the world, and like what sort of exciting things we could be investing in. And so politics has very little to do with what we do. But if anything, I think it made us stronger because we got to really know each other and collaborate with each other more, and we had to be pretty strong.
Have things changed since he moved to LA?
We see him more, actually.
Really?
So, yeah. So if you think about it, like his office was right next to ours. He could just walk over for an hour or so. Now he comes in and he's there for a full day or two. And so we actually see him in the office more as a result of him being in LA, which is great.
Now, here in San Francisco, we're seeing increasing anti-tech policies like bans on the scooters, limits on the commuter buses and things like that. I saw you tweeting about the promise of a Silicon Valley in the Midwest. Why stay in San Francisco at all? I mean, Peter's in LA. Could you see the firm moving elsewhere? Or do you see potential elsewhere, and if so, where?
I mean, it's always possible. We're not discussing it right now, but I do think that we have started looking outside of Silicon Valley for other possibilities. Like the next great company might not be in our backyard. And so we've looked at the Midwest. We're looking at Asia. We're looking all over the place. And so we are no longer location specific. So we're sector agnostic, location agnostic, stage agnostic. And so I think that's just, we're not going to stop investing here, and we're not going to stop being here in the foreseeable future.
Now, I'm very interested in diversity issues. I know you've spoken out on them before as well. You're a self-taught engineer and entrepreneur. What do you think is missing from the conversation about diversity in Silicon Valley?
Well, diversity is often sometimes things you don't see. It's sometimes not what's on the outside. It's like, for example, I identify as genderqueer. And by the way, thank you for asking about my pronouns. I think that was very inclusive and wonderful, so thank you. But I think a lot of the times when we're having these discussions, we don't realize about there's neurological diversity. So sometimes people will say things like that person is dense or whatever, and they're on the spectrum. Mm-hmm. And there's things like that I think age diversity. These are certain things I don't feel like we're having a lot of conversations about that also matter.
Well, thank you so much for keeping that conversation going and moving it forward. Really appreciate having you here, Cyan Banister of
Thank you.
Founders Fund on Naked Labs.